What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your ROCK SABER 8-pack. They're available in both black and white, but the setup for each is the exact same. So along with the case that you can use to charge and transport your lights, you get 8 ROCK SABERs. You also get 8 stands, 8 chargers, 8 remotes, 8 replacement bottom plates for each light to use for sound mode, 8 rings that you can attach to the bottom or the top of the light so you can hang them, and a power cable to plug the case into your wall outlet in order for the lights to charge. You also get a DMX guide, which comes in handy when using your ROCK SABERs with your DMX controller, and it also goes over all of the buttons on your remote control. So like I mentioned, you can house 8 ROCK SABERs at a time with the case, and you can also charge your lights at the same time. To do that, you're gonna use these power outlets here on the bottom of your case. So to charge your light, you can take one of your chargers and line them up to one of the available spots here inside of your case. You can then lay your light right on top. Then for the charger, you're gonna plug the adapter end into the light itself, and then plug the other end into one of the available outlets here on the case. Then you're gonna do the exact same thing with the remaining chargers and the remaining lights. Then once you have all of the lights plugged into this power outlet down here, you're gonna take the included power cable, plug the female end into the power socket on the outside of the case. Then you'll plug your other end into your wall outlet, flip the switch outside of your case, and then watch as you see all of your lights start to charge. Once you're done with all of your chargers, you can place them inside of this compartment down here, which can also house all of your stands, remotes, and other accessories. Now to transport your case, you can use these butterfly locks here to close it up. There's also these loops here that you can run a padlock through for extra security. Each side has 2 wheels so you can roll the case around, and you also have a handle on the side and on the top of the case so you can pick it up. So now let's dive into how to position your ROCK SABER 8-pack. Now for today's demo, I'm just gonna be using one of the lights from the 8-pack, but everything we go over with this one light applies to every light in the 8-pack. So let me get set up real quick and we'll get started. Now we have many different ways we can position the ROCK SABER. One of the ways is by using the mini stand that comes included. We're actually gonna set this up to the bottom of the light. So if we take a look at the bottom, you're gonna see this threading here. So we're just gonna take our stand and line up the threading on top to the threading here on the bottom and screw it on just like this. And now from here, we're able to spread the legs of the stand just like this. So that way, when we put it down, it will stay balanced on the floor like that. Now there's actually a way to adjust the legs in case the light isn't completely balanced once you set it down. So to do that, you can take the included Allen key and line it up to this Allen screw here. And you can either loosen it up to make it flatter, or you can tighten it up to make it stand more like this. If you unscrew it too much, the legs might come out, so you want to be mindful of that if you're unscrewing it. You also have the option of hanging your light by using this ring here. So you can either attach this to the top or the bottom of the light. If you look for the threading here on the top, for example, all you have to do is line up the threading of the ring and screw it on just like this. To attach the ring to the bottom of the light, you're gonna do the same exact thing, but you're just gonna look for the threading on the bottom, line the ring up, and screw it on just like this. And then from there, you can hang the light wherever you want. We also have the option of setting up our light to an even taller stand, like our very own SABER Stand X1. To do that, we're gonna start by setting up the stand itself. So I can take the middle piece here and the base right here. With the middle piece, I'm gonna look for this screw at the bottom. This is going to help us attach the middle piece to the base. So I'm just gonna take this out like this. Now, if we take a look at the base of the stand, you're gonna see this hole here in the middle. So I'm actually gonna flip it around to expose this felt part. Then I can take the screw that I just took out and line it up to this hole here. Now be mindful when you're inserting the screw, you actually have 2 flat ends of this hole here, and you have 2 flat ends of this screw. So you're just gonna line the flat ends up like this, and now we're able to fit the screw easy just like that. So now from here, we can take the middle piece and line up the threading of the pole to the screw here and just screw it on like this. And now we have the base of the stand all set up, so we're gonna put it down right here. Now from here, we can take our main pole, look for this threading here on the bottom. We're gonna line this threading up to the top of the base like this, and then we're just going to screw it on like this. Now we have the stand all set up, but we can also extend the stand if we need to by loosening up this top grip here. And if we grab the top of the stand like this, we can actually pull it out even further and make it as tall as we want. For today though, we're just gonna leave the stand unextended. So we're just gonna set it all the way down and tighten up the grip like that. So now from here, we can attach the light to the stand by lining up the threading here on the bottom of the light to the threading here on top of the stand like this. And then you're just gonna screw it on. So you have a bunch of different options on how to position the light, but for today, we're just gonna use the included stand. So let's get to know the light a bit better by going over all of the controls and functions. First off, we have this silver button here to power on or power off the light. So we're gonna press it once right now to power it on. You'll then see the display in the middle light up, and then you have 4 buttons to control the light. So you have the menu button to go through all of the different modes. Underneath you have the enter button to enter a sub menu or to save the settings that you made. And then across we have the up and down buttons to cycle between different settings or to change the value of any settings. So now let's go through all of the different modes for the light. If you're following at home, we're gonna start with the DMX address mode. And if you have a different mode set to your light right now, we would just go to the menu button and press it until you see the address display. So this first mode is the wireless DMX address mode. We can set this anywhere between A001 or A512 when we're using the light with a DMX controller. When you're in this mode, you can use the up and down buttons to cycle between the different DMX addresses, and then you can press enter when you found the one that you want to use to save it. Next, we have the channel mode, which allows us to set the DMX channel mode for each light, and this determines how much control we have with our DMX controller. We have 7 different DMX channel options, and we'll go over the difference between all of them when we set up our DMX controller. So in this mode, you can press the up and down buttons to cycle between the different channel modes, and then you can press enter to save the change. Next up, we have the DMX fail mode. This mode will determine how the light behaves when it loses communication with the DMX controller. You have 2 different options for this mode, so you can either set it to hold or blackout. If it's set to hold, it's going to maintain the last current setting, and if it's set to blackout, the LEDs are just going to shut off and no mode will be shown. Next, we have the custom or manual mode for the light. So with this, you can make your very own custom color with the red, green, blue, white, and yellow dimmers. And there's even a strobe setting, so you can add a strobe effect to your color. So for example, I'm set to the red dimmer right now, so I can set how much red I want to be shown on the light. So I can bring it down, for example, if I want less red shown. Once I set that, I can press enter to move on to the next dimmer, which is green. And then I can set how much green I want to be shown. So I'm gonna raise this up, for example. Then you can see the green showing through, and then I can press enter to move on to blue. So I can set a little bit of blue. Then I can move on to white. Show some more white, and then yellow to show some more yellow. So then once you have your color set, you can press enter again to initiate some strobe. So I'm gonna bring this up to 4 strobe, for example, and you can see the light start to strobe with the custom color. Next, we have the program mode where we can cycle between different modes like Lee color, regular color, the auto mode, the sound mode, and much more. So in the program menu, you can use the up and down buttons to cycle between the different modes. So right now we're on Lee color, but we can go down to regular color, or we can go down to the Wi-Fi mode, and you can keep cycling from there. We're gonna circle back to the Lee color first to show you what that mode does. So to make adjustments in these modes, you can press enter. And for the Lee color mode, you have 3 different settings. So you have dim to show how bright the light is going to be. You have the Lee color itself to change the color of the light. And then you have a strobe mode as well. So to make any changes, I can press the enter button on dim, for example, and use the up and down buttons to set how bright I want it to be. So this is all the way down, and I'm gonna bring it up to about there. I'm gonna press enter again to save my changes, and then I can press down to change the Lee color by pressing enter, and then I can use the up and down buttons to set it to a different color. So I'm gonna set it to this green color here and press enter again. Then I'm gonna cycle down to the strobe mode, press enter, and set it to a heavy strobe for today. And now I'm just gonna turn it off by cycling it down to 0. Then I can press enter to save that change. To escape the Lee color menu, you're just gonna press the menu button here, and then you can use the up and down buttons to cycle between the different modes. So next up we have the regular color mode, so I can press enter to go into this menu. Again, we have 3 different settings. So we have dim to set the brightness of the light. We'll leave it right here. We can go down to color, press enter, and change the color of the light. Let's set it to this yellow color here. Press enter to save, and then we can go down to strobe. We can change the strobe if we want, but we're just gonna leave it right here. And again, to get out, we can just press the menu button here. And then we can move on to the next mode, which is the Wi-Fi mode. We would only use this mode to sync the light with the included app. So if you press enter, you're gonna see this unique code here. So from there, you're gonna go into the Wi-Fi settings of your smartphone, search for this unique code, click on it, and that's how you sync the light to your phone. That's just a brief overview, but we'll go into more detail on how to set up the light with your app later on. Next, we have the sound mode where we can have the light interact with sound picked up by the built-in microphone. If you want to use the sound mode, we recommend adding this attachment piece here because it has these 2 holes so that you have better access to the microphone. Because the piece that's attached to the light, once you get it, actually covers up this microphone. So if I want to attach this piece, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take the legs off first, like this. Then I'm just going to unscrew the end cap here. And now I can take the new attachment piece and screw it onto the bottom like this. And there's still a hole in the middle for the legs, so I'm going to just screw that on as well. And now the light will have an easier time interacting with the sound of our voice or the music. So once you press enter in the sound mode menu, you have 3 different options. You can change the sound mode itself. You have up to 31 different options. So you can either have it go randomized like this in sound mode 1. In sound mode 2, the light will change between solid colors when it picks up sound. And then you have 3 different spectrum analyzer modes between modes 3 to 31. The next setting we have is the sensitivity setting, so we can determine how easily the microphone picks up sound. So for example, if this is set all the way up to 9, it's gonna pick up sound very easy. So just like that, you're gonna see that the light is interacting like so. Or if we set this opposite to 1, it's gonna take a lot more volume for the light to interact. We even have a color menu here, so we can set this to rainbow, where the light will have all of the different colors displayed, or we can set it to one of the 27 static colors. Next, we have the auto menu, where we can set our light to one of the many different auto modes. So I'm gonna press enter in this mode here. As you can see, we're on auto mode 2 right now. If you want to change that, you can press enter on the auto mode here and cycle between the different auto modes. You can also adjust the speed of the mode, so we can cycle down to speed, press enter, and we can either slow it down like this. So now it's going slower, or we can cycle up to make it go faster. Again, you also have a color setting where you can either set it to rainbow or one of the 27 static colors. Next, we have the HSI mode, where we can set a hue for the light. So for this mode, we have 3 different settings. So we have the dimmer setting where we can set how intense the hue is. We have the hue setting itself, so we can press enter and cycle through the different hue options. And then we have the saturation setting, so we can set the intensity of the saturation. So we can press enter here and bring up the saturation like this. Then lastly, in the program menu, we have a correlation color temperature mode. This allows us to set our light from a cool temperature like this to a warmer temperature depending on where you set the value. Again, you have 3 different settings. So you have the dimmer to control the intensity or brightness. Next, we have the CCT setting to control the temperature of the light. So right now we have it all the way up to the coolest setting, but if we go down, we can set it warmer and warmer till we get all the way to 3000 K for the warmest setting. Then lastly, there's a strobe for this mode as well. So we can go down, press enter and set it to a light strobe like this, or a high strobe like that. Next, we have the master mode, so we can use the master slave feature. So when you have this set to on one of your lights, that means it's going to control all of the lights within the same frequency group. So you would also want this to be turned off on all of the slave lights. Next, you have the wireless DMX mode, where you can set the light to one of 7 different wireless group IDs. This is an important step if you want to use the light with the master slave feature, a wireless DMX controller, or the app. Essentially, you'll want all of your devices to be set to the same wireless group ID. So to do that on the light, all you have to do is go to this mode here, then use the up and down buttons to cycle between the different groups available. So they're all color coded too, which really helps. So you have 1, which is red, 2, which is green, 3, which is yellow, and it goes on from there. And again, you'll want all of your devices to match the same group ID. Next, we have the brightness mode, where we can set just how bright the bulbs inside of the light will get. And this will also determine the battery life for the light itself. So for example, if you have this set to 4 hours, the bulbs are gonna be at their brightest, but you're only gonna have 4 hours of battery life. Or on the other hand, you can set this to 23 hours where the bulbs won't be as bright, but you're gonna have more battery life. So it all depends on your preference there. Next, we have the IR mode that works with the included controller. So if you have this set to the on position, that means you're able to use the included remote with the light. But if you turn this off, it will cut the connection between the remote and the light. This actually might be a useful feature when you're using the master slave function, so that this way, if you point your remote at one of the slave lights, it's not gonna throw any of them out of sync. Next, we have the menu lock mode, where we can turn off the functionality of the 4 buttons here on the display. You can actually tell if this feature is turned on because you'll see a little lock icon appear. And this way, when you press the buttons, they won't interact with the light at all until you unlock it. If you do want to unlock it, all you have to do is press and hold down the menu button. Next, you have the backlight option to set how long the display is shown for. So you can actually set this so it will turn off after 10, 20, or 30 seconds, or you can have this set to always on, so you're always seeing the display. And lastly, you have the factory reset mode, where you can reset the light for a clean slate. So now that we know a bit more about our light, the next thing I want to show you is how to set up 2 ROCK SABERs to a wireless DMX controller. So for my setup today, I have 2 ROCK SABERs and my wireless DMX controller. So let's get into how to set everything up. So the first thing we can do is power on our DMX controller and our lights. And on the lights themselves, we can go into the master mode by pressing the menu button until the display reads master. And we're actually going to want to set this off because we're using the DMX controller as the master controller, so we don't need the lights to be in master mode. The next thing we're going to want to do is set our lights and our controller to the same wireless DMX group ID. This is a very important step because it's the wireless group ID that will link the lights and the controller. So on the lights themselves, we're going to press the menu button until we get to the wireless DMX menu here. And now we can use the up and down buttons to choose which wireless group ID we want to use. We have 7 different options and they're all color coded. So we have ID1 as red, ID2 as green, ID3 as yellow, ID4 as blue, ID5 as purple, ID6 as cyan, and ID7 as white. So we can pick any of these 7 codes. For today, I'm gonna use ID4 or the blue ID. Again, I'm gonna press the up or down button until I see the blue light shining on the light here. And I'm gonna do the same exact thing on the second light. And now on my controller, I'm going to activate the wireless DMX mode by flipping this switch here. And then I'm going to set my controller to the same wireless group by pressing this button here until I see the blue light flashing. Just like that. After that, it's going to flash red, letting us know that it's looking for our lights. The next thing we'll do is go to our lights and press the menu button until we get to the address menu. And then we're gonna set our lights to the same DMX address. For today, we're gonna use 001. Now we're gonna press the menu button to get to the next menu over, which is the channel menu on our lights. And then we're gonna set our lights to the same DMX channel, which will determine how much control we have over our lights with our controller. The number of channels basically equates to how many faders you can use. So for example, if we set this to 3-channel mode, we can only use 3 faders on our controller. It all whittles down to what type of effects you want to use with your controller. So you can go as high as 160 channels, or you can meet somewhere in the middle, like 12 channels, which is what we're gonna do for today. So on the lights, you can use the up and down buttons to cycle through the different channel modes. Like I said, for today, we're going to cycle through the buttons until we get to the 12 channel mode. Next, we can activate scanner 1 on our controller. And now we can go through each fader and see what it does for our lights. You can also refer to the DMX guide to see which fader does what as well. So let's dive in. Fader 1 acts as our master dimmer to set how bright we want our lights to be. For today, we're just gonna set this all the way up. Fader 2 will activate the strobe, but you can't tell yet until we set a color. So we're gonna do that first by using fader 3, which is the red dimmer. So the more I raise that, the more red you'll see come through. And now if I go back to fader 2 to set the strobe, you'll see the strobe coming through. Fader 4 is the green dimmer, so I can raise that to show more green. Next we have fader 5, which is the blue dimmer, to see more blue. Fader 6 as the cool white dimmer, so the more I raise that, the more cool white you'll see. And then we have fader 7, which is the warm white dimmer, so you can see more warm white. So now before we dive into faders 8 through 10, I actually want to talk about fader 11 first. So on my controller here, I have to click page select in order to use fader 11. And now I can use fader 11 to set my lights to any of the auto modes, depending on where I set the fader or what value I have it set to. To keep track of what value you're setting your fader to, you're gonna refer to the screen here on the top of your controller. So this way, if I raise fader 11, you're gonna see the value go up, and this is going to determine what auto mode you're setting your light to. So for example, I'm gonna set it to value 60, and then now we're gonna see this auto mode here. So now backtracking a little bit, we can now use fader 8 to set a new color combination and fader 9 to set a new background color. You're not gonna see the background color though until you raise fader 10. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna raise it all the way up so we can see it coming through. And now I can use fader 9 to set a new background color. So for example, if I raise fader 9 to value 160, then you're going to see this blue color here. So now we have a new background color. I can then go back to page 1 for fader 8 and use that to set a new color combination. So as you can see now, the color combination is set to a rainbow, so it's changing every time with the blue background. However, we can use fader 8 to set the combination to a different color. So I'm gonna use fader 8 and raise it to about 16 here. And now you'll see this combination is just coming up as red. So we can change the color combinations and background colors with any of the auto modes. So for another example, I'm going to set the auto mode to this mode right here. I'm gonna change the background color to this peach color here. And then I can change the color combination to a more purple color like this one here. After you found the right auto mode and color palette, you can go back to fader 12 to adjust the speed of this show. So I can raise fader 12, and now as you can see, it's going a lot faster. Remember, you can always refer to the DMX guide to find out which DMX channel mode does what, which values activate which colors or auto modes, and much more. Now, another way to control our lights without using a DMX controller is by setting up the master slave function. This will make it so we can control one or multiple lights with one master light. So first we need to determine which light we want to use as the master light and which light we want to use as the slave light. So I'm gonna use this light as the master light, and I'm gonna use this light as the slave light. And if you want to set up even more slave lights, you're gonna follow all the steps we're doing on this light here. So the first thing we can do is set our master light to master mode by pressing the menu button until we see the master display. If this is turned off, we're gonna use the up or down button to turn it back on. Now for all of the slave lights, we can go to the master display and turn this setting off since we're only using them as the secondary lights. So now in order to get our lights to sync up, we need to set them to the same wireless DMX group ID. To do that, we're gonna press the menu button on both lights until we see the wireless DMX display. And from here, we can choose one of 7 different IDs to sync them to. They're all color coded, so you have ID 1 as red, ID 2 as green, ID 3 as yellow, ID 4 as blue, ID 5 as purple, ID 6 as cyan, and ID 7 as white. You can choose any of these IDs, but for today, we're gonna set ours to ID 4, which is blue. Now on all of these slave lights, we're gonna press the menu button until we see the address display and set all of the slave lights to the same DMX address. So now from here, we can set our master light to any mode or color, and the slave light will follow. So for example, I'm gonna go to the menu button here and select any of the auto modes. And after I've done that on my master light, you'll see that the slave light will follow. I can even use my remote here to set my master light to a different mode or color, and then you'll see that the slave light will follow. If you do plan on using the remote, we recommend that you go to the master light, go to the IR setting and make sure that the IR is set to on. Then go to the IR setting on all of these slave lights and make sure that's turned off. This way you won't have to worry about the lights going out of sync if you point at the wrong light and change it to a different mode or color. Now, another way we can control our light without using the controls on the light itself is by using the remote control. So let's break down all of the controls. So you have an on and off switch for the LEDs of the light. So if you wanted to turn the bulbs of the lights off, all you have to do is press the off button here. You'll notice that the light is still on, it's just that the bulbs are turned off, which helps save battery. So whenever you're ready to use them again, you can turn them on just like that. Next to that, we have these brightness buttons, so we can control the overall brightness of the lights. If we wanted to make them more dim, we're gonna press the brightness down button here. And if we wanted to make them brighter, we can press the brightness up button here. Below the power buttons, we have the DMX address and the DMX channel button. So we can use these to instantly access the DMX address or the DMX channel mode for the light. So I can press the DMX address button. It's gonna bring me right to the DMX address. Then I can use the mode down or mode up button to switch the actual DMX address. And same for the DMX channel. I can press the DMX channel button here. It's gonna go right to the channel menu, and then I can use the mode up or mode down buttons to switch the DMX channel. Below that, we have the slave button, so I can instantly turn my light to slave mode. Next to that, we have the sound button, so I can set my light to sound mode just like that. I can use the mode down or mode up button to set which slave mode I want my light set to. Then I have the sensitivity buttons here, so I can set how sensitive the built-in microphone is when picking up the sound. Next, we have the auto mode, so I can set my light to a preset auto mode just like that. From here, I can use the mode up or mode down button to cycle between the different auto modes. So I'm gonna press up here and that changed the auto mode. Then we can use these speed buttons here to change the speed of the mode. So right now we're set at this speed, but I can boost it up like that. See, it's going a lot faster, or I could slow it down. And now it's going slow. We also have a fade button, so we can set our light to fade mode, just like that. And again, I can use the speed buttons to adjust the speed of the fade. So I can make the fade faster, like that. See, now it's going crazy. And then I can use the speed down button to make the fade slow, like that. Next, we have all of these color buttons here. They all have different shades to them. So for example, we have the red button here that has different shades. So I can set it to red mode like that. I can keep pressing this button until I find a shade of red I like. So this is the darker red. This is a lighter red here, and so on and so forth. We can do the same thing with the green button. So this is green right here. I can press it again if I want a different shade, and so on. You can do the same thing for cool white and set it to different shades of cool white. Or you can do the same thing with warm white to set it to different shades of warm white. We also have a multicolor button here. When we click that, we can use the color wheel up and down buttons here to cycle between all of the different colors. So for example, we have it set to cool white right now, but I can cycle up through the different colors. And as you can see, it's going through all of the different ones we have available. We can even set our color to a strobe mode by pressing the strobe button here. And we can also adjust the speed of the strobe by using the speed buttons. So I can make it faster by pressing the speed up button. So now it's going crazy, and I can slow it down by pressing speed down to make it slow like that. And if you ever want to set it back to a static color, you can press the static button here. So this set us back to a cool white, but you can use the color wheel buttons again to switch the light to a different color. Below the DMX section here, we have the Wi-Fi and the wireless ID buttons. We can press the wireless ID button here and then use the mode up and down buttons to set our lights to any of the 7 different wireless group IDs. This helps a lot with setting up our lights to a DMX controller or the master slave function. And then we have the Wi-Fi button to easily set our light to Wi-Fi mode. So when we click this, we can see the unique code that we need to set up our light to our phone in order to use the app. Now, another way we can control our Rock Sabers is by using the app. To do that, we're gonna go to the App Store and search for the app called DJ Link Light. It's gonna look something like this here. So we're just going to get this app right now. And once you have the app downloaded and opened up, it's gonna look something like this. So for this demo today, we're using 2 lights at a time, and we're able to do this by using the master slave function. We have a whole section on that you can review in case you want to link multiple lights together and control them all by using the app. But to summarize, we have to choose 1 master light and 1 slave light. Make sure that the master mode is turned on for the master light while turning off the master mode for the slave light. We then set them to the same wireless DMX group ID, and then we set our slave light to the DMX address mode. So now it's just going to copy everything the master light is doing. So now what we have to do is sync up our light to our phone by using the Wi-Fi settings. To do that, we're gonna go to the Wi-Fi mode on our light. We can do this by either pressing the menu button until we see the Wi-Fi display, or if we have the remote handy, we can press the Wi-Fi button just like this, and that's going to bring us to the unique Wi-Fi code that we need to find through the Wi-Fi settings of our phone. To set the light into Wi-Fi mode by using the buttons, all you're gonna do is press the menu button until you get to the program menu. Use the up and down buttons to cycle to the Wi-Fi setting, and then you'll press enter to set the light into Wi-Fi mode and see the unique code that you need to find in the network settings of your phone. So to do that, we're just gonna go to our settings, look for the Wi-Fi settings here. So now we need to look for our light through the Wi-Fi networks by looking for the code that's shown on the display of our main light. So for example, the code on the light I'm trying to sync up is 97A8. So I'm just gonna click on that right here. Then once it's connected, you're gonna see the check mark right next to the network. And now we're able to go back to the app. Then from here, we're gonna activate the app by clicking on the on button here. You might see this prompt come up, so you can click on allow. Now, in case the lights don't come on right away, we recommend going to this on off switch here on the top right corner and flipping it to the off position. Then you can switch it on. And now you'll see the lights interact. Now there's a couple things I want to mention in case you're still having trouble connecting your phone to your lights. First thing is you always want to make sure that your master light stays on Wi-Fi mode so you keep the connection between the master light and your phone. And the second thing is on the phone itself, you always want to make sure that your Wi-Fi network is connected to the code that's on the master light. So if you're still having trouble connecting, we recommend going to the Wi-Fi settings every now and again and make sure that you're still set to that Wi-Fi code. You can also try going into the settings on the app itself and clicking on the clear catch button. So now let's explore the app a little bit and see what it does with our lights. So on this first page, we have a color wheel, so we can pick a color for the lights to project. So I can drag my finger along this color wheel here to change the color, just like this. In the middle, we have a brightness button to change the brightness of the lights. So I can lower it like this to make it less bright, and I can raise it to make it bright again. There's also these preset colors to choose from, so I can click on these colors and it will easily change to that color. And there's also these blank spaces down here, so we can make our own preset of any color we choose from the color wheel. So for example, I can make a custom color like this. Then all I have to do is click on one of these blank spaces and you'll see that it saves that color. And if we want to delete the preset, all we have to do is hold down the space like this, and now it's free again. We also have this mode menu here where we can select any preset mode for the lights to project. So there's all these presets like RGB cycle, blue pulse right here. That's cool. You also got a red strobe, and many, many more. From here, you can also set the light to a static color. You can adjust the brightness of the light from here, and you can also adjust the speed of any mode. So for example, I'll go back to RGB cycle. See, it's at 100% speed right now, so I can slow it down to make it go slower. And if I want to speed it up again, I can just drag it back to 100. There's also a sound mode menu to activate the sound mode for the light. So you can choose one of 4 sound modes down here. And up here, you can adjust the sensitivity of the built-in microphone so we can affect how it picks up sound. So if you wanted to pick up sound easily, you can raise it at 100%. And now if I make some sound, you'll see that the lights will change. So that covers everything in the monochrome section here in the middle, but we also have 2 more tabs. So we have the multicolor tab here. Here we can control the overall brightness of the light. So if we want it to be more bright, we can either use this wheel here in the middle, bring it all the way to the right like this, or if we wanted to make it more dark, we can bring it all the way around like that, or we can use these presets here at the bottom. There's also this temperature menu here to adjust the overall temperature of the light. Again, we have this wheel here in the middle, so if we wanted to make the light cooler, we can drag it along this direction. If we wanted to make the light warmer, we could bring it around this direction. And there's also presets here, so we can set it to a preset temperature. And lastly, we have this settings section here where we can either clear the cache or find out more about the app. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your ROCK SABER 8-pack. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free